Hey everybody, this is Marina, your podcast host at UNBOSSED. Here we go. At UNBOSSED, I interview amazing women in Chicago. There is so much woman power in this city that I want to provide these women a platform to tell their story. Please connect with us and please consider supporting by sharing, liking, commenting the podcast. Tell all your Netflix friends and family about it. Submit a recommendation for a guest, subscribe on your favorite podcast app, and donate by clicking on the anchor link and help me continue to make great episodes. I hope you enjoy and welcome to the show. Hey everybody, this is Marina, your podcast host at UNBOSSED. Today, my special guest is Pam Buchanan. She is the founder of Everly James. Welcome, Pam.
Hi, how are you, Marina? How are you?
Good. Thank you for coming.
Good. Thank you for having me.
I'm super excited to have you on the podcast because you have had such a awesome professional career and you have reinvented yourself, and this is what we're going to talk about a little bit today even. And before we get there, tell us a little bit about you. I know you grew up in the Midwest. What was it like being Pam, young early days?
A young Pam in the early days. Well, I grew up in a small town in Illinois, but I thought it was the big city because we were the county seat. So we were the big guys in the surrounding area. A little town called Paris. So again, I thought, oh, how wonderful. You know, we could pretend we're in Paris, France. I have an identical twin sister, which is unique, and a younger city, as a younger sister. But we grew up with a normal childhood and running and playing and, you know, making friends and excited, you know, to go to school and then graduate high school and go on to college. And again, I went to college in the Midwest, Indiana University. And then get to the real big city, which was Chicago. So I left college one day and I was in Chicago the next, looking for a job.
And so did you choose, like any young woman, to move in the city and try your adventure at the big city lights and all that good stuff?
I was so excited. My dad had lived in Chicago for a while when he was younger. So I thought that was really cool. And, you know, I had college friends that lived in Chicago. So we were all going to be roommates and, you know, have four people in a 2-bedroom apartment and live the big city life.
How did we get to working for Nasdaq? And by we, I mean you. I don't know why.
No, it was a wonderful adventure. I actually started in the brokerage industry. So I interviewed and wanted to be, my dad was in the grain business. So I thought, oh, wouldn't it be cool to be a commodity broker? And back in the day, that was, you know, male dominated. And my dad had said, why don't you, you know, more career opportunities if you are a stockbroker versus just focus on one asset class, which was commodities. So I interviewed and got a job with one of the big brokerage firms and got my license. And then decided, I don't know if this is for me. Maybe I'm going to move to New York because I wanted to be in a bigger city and headquarters. And one day I was out with a group of friends and met someone that worked for a mutual fund company. And back then, that was a new asset class. And they were hiring and wanted to interview me for an opportunity there. So I interviewed and, you know, really was excited about that opportunity because, one, it was, again, building out a team of people to service, you know, a fairly new asset class in terms of mutual funds. So I was there 18 years and grew in responsibilities, and, you know, the markets are ever evolving. And so it was a real dynamic career. Every day was a different day. I traveled extensively, you know, to the West Coast, the East Coast. I had clients all over and managed people. And it was a great career for 18 years. And then, you know, I got a little burnt out from the travel. and thought, I want to do something a little bit different. So I don't want to say it was a midlife crisis, but I was in my midlife. And so I said, I'm going to, see what I can do without another job. I left. And many people were like, oh, you can't leave. This is a great job. And I said, I know it's a great job, but I want to explore other opportunities. So I'm one of those that even if it was great, I don't want to say it got boring, but I needed to expand my skill set, maybe move to another, East, West Coast, do a different industry. But didn't really want to stay and, be like dad and stay, 40 years in one career, even though it was a great career. Yeah. So that's where, again, I had, reached out to various companies and headhunters had been calling, and Nasdaq came calling. So, and which was, again, you talk about dynamic and on the cutting edge. And so they offered me a position in the Midwest and I turned it down.
Cool.
And I said, I really want to be on the West Coast. I want to be in California. I've not tried to live in a different city. I've lived, in Chicago for the past 20 years. And I really want to explore a different city. And so they came back to me and said, you know what? We love you so much. We're going to create a new position for you out in San Francisco.
Nice.
I'm like, wow. Okay. So I moved out to San Francisco. My territory, I was developing new business for them, going out and meeting entrepreneurs, small companies, bankers, lawyers, the whole ecosystem in building companies. And it was fascinating. And my territory included LA, San Diego, Phoenix, Colorado, Vegas. I mean, it was a fun territory. You couldn't have asked for a better territory. And of course, I was right in the heart of Silicon Valley.
Yes.
Where it was all happening.
Yes. Well, and we want to definitely get to that. Let's first talk about the concept that we've already briefly discussed before, which is the concept of the career woman, right? Mm-hmm. And how you were OG, the career woman.
Yes.
I think before it even was called a thing.
Yes.
It was a thing. So tell me about your perspective during that time. Of being in the midst of things, working with mostly male-dominated environment, mm-hmm. Being a woman, how was that for you?
In the beginning, and this was in the 80s, so it was definitely male-dominated culture, but we were naive to a certain respect. This is normal, right? This is normal. I'm going to be a woman that fits in with the male culture. They're going to accept me. And for the most part, I want to say they did, but there's still little differences how they treat a woman versus a man in any culture. I think it wasn't difficult, but it was eye-opening. Mm-hmm. And I think, I spoke my mind, which I would encourage anyone out there that is starting a career, in the middle of their career, make sure that you are speaking your mind and your truth. And of course, in an articulate, non-threatening way, sitting down with the people you're involved with. And if there's differences of opinion, if you want to be heard, or you think you're not being heard, ask for that promotion, ask for your opinion to be heard. And if you're not in that culture where you're going to be accepted and heard, sometimes you can't change that culture and it's better to move on. Mm. So I think because I did progress at Kemper, I started in I want to call it an entry-level position where you're on the phones, all the way up to being a senior vice president running a division of the company.
Yeah.
So I had great career opportunities. So I don't want to say that, that did not inhibit me being a woman from progressing, and I was recognized. But part of it, I think I did speak my mind.
Mm. Did you find that your career progression was at par with some of your male peers as well?
I did. I did. And this is in the financial services industry, so it wasn't a Merrill Lynch brokerage, which back in the day you did have women, but it was still that male-dominated culture, and the boys were going out here, and the boys were doing this, and it wasn't all inclusive. For me, I started with a group of peers, and I did feel we were all equal. Mm. So we were on the phones, we were talking, and I did get promoted on my merits. And other women did get promoted. And nice. In fact, I don't know if the stars had aligned, but, I would be approached from my management and say, oh, we want you to take on this role. And sometimes I'm like, I don't think I'm quite ready. That's not quite what the role is. Pam, you're ready. We're going to put you in. So it was almost like they kept pushing me to take that next role. And back in the day, they wanted to open a new division and focus on financial institutions, the banking world. And I said, I don't even have a checking account. I'm new age. I don't go into the bank branches and sit and have coffee with people. And they go, that's okay. It's, we trust that you will learn and grow into the role. So I have to say I was pretty blessed in those careers and didn't face too many, major obstacles, but I did keep speaking my mind. And I think that really, really benefited me. I came across as a strong woman and competent.
Yeah. What is the recipe that you've highlighted it twice? What is the recipe of speaking your mind? You said being articulate about it, potentially. You also said non-threatening, correct?
Yes.
What is the recipe that you use in order to create I think you create a certain level of confidence as well as conviction, right? When you do that.
Yes.
What have you found to be successful?
I think that when you know yourself and you really are grounded, I would recommend, if you do want to speak out and you're not exactly sure, you will come off as unsure. And that's where, whether it's the male or even if you had a female management team, they might sense that if you come off unsure, and disregard your comments, your approach. So you really do have to be grounded in that belief of what you're saying is your truth, and it will be better for the organization. That's another thing. It can't come off as, oh, it's just about me. I want this promotion, or hear my opinion because my opinion is better than your opinion. It's about the company, right? And you can say, listen, here's a thought I had, and I think this will bring in more revenue if we approach it this way. Now, not every time is your opinion or thought, suggestion going to be taken, because there's many voices in the room, but you want to know that you were heard, you were part of that conversation.
I like that.
And don't sit back, don't sit back and wait to be invited. You have to jump right in, because if you look at the males, that's what they do. They jump right in. And they come off confident sometimes, even when they're not. Like I tell people all the time, men sometimes exaggerate what they've done or their potential. They talk big, right? And that's just their culture, their language. And it's not like they're lying, but they're stretching,
Yeah.
And so women underplay our strengths.
Yeah.
And we're timid to,
what's that about?
I'm really good. I think it's, especially in the generation, it's how you were raised and the culture around you. The men, I don't want to use the word in power, but, the men went to work, they earned the money, we'll sit back and be taken care of. Well, no. You can take care of yourself. You have earning potential, and you can have a career, you can have a family, a relationship, and I don't want to say do it all, but that old phrase, right? We can do it all, but we can do it all. Women are capable of making a living and sustaining themselves. And I think that's so important, that you want to have your earning potential. And also when you are working and contributing and feeling, empowered and good about what you're doing, it does boost your self-confidence. It really does. So I advise all women to, seek out what they're passionate about, and that they don't have to sit back. And because when you're in your power, it feels really, really good.
Yeah, absolutely. I love that. I took a pause from talking because that needed a lot of space to be heard. I hope everybody listening has internalized this, so needed. And to show up as leaders every day. So
yes,
thank
show
you.
up as leaders.
Thank you.
Show up as leaders. And it takes practice, right? And
Yeah.
no one's quote unquote ready. Look at my career. In the beginning, I was blessed to have bosses that believed in me. And one time, the head boss flew by my, cubicle, and he said, "I can't do a presentation. It's in 15 minutes. Jump in a cab and go to this hotel and speak to 100 brokers." I'm like, I never have spoken in front of a group. I can't. No, you're doing it, and I'll see you later. I've got to run. So again, I was always forced, but I had that confidence and backing of my management team. So that is important, that they believe in you as well. But you first have to go out and say, I believe in myself, and here's what I can contribute. So obviously he had seen something in me that knew I could stand up and in 15 minutes give a presentation. Now he gave me the speech, thank goodness. I got to read off the cue cards, but the overall presentation. And yes, was I nervous? Yes, but you just put one foot in front of the other. You take a deep breath and you stand up. So we sat down, we're at the table, but now let's stand up and present ourselves.
I love it. That's so beautiful. And what are some of the lessons that you have learned throughout your career in terms of working up the ladder specifically? Like, we know there's a big drop off of women, middle management, and that they don't make it up the ranks, right? So we see a lot less percentages up in C-level boards and things like that. So what are some of the lessons that you have learned from working yourself up?
I think that number one, you have to come across as open for new possibilities, and that you're in the game, if you will, that you're, committed to the company, you're committed to the cause, you want to learn. And if someone comes by and says, "Hey, can you work on this project?" you say, "Absolutely, I'm ready for a new challenge." And it doesn't mean you have to be perfect at it. So if your boss comes by and offers you opportunities, sit down and discuss that with them. But no one, you're not going to know, even if you're qualified and skilled, it doesn't mean you know everything, right? I mean, you're always learning. You hope to put yourself in a position where you're always learning and growing. But you want to present yourself as that. You don't want to box yourself into, okay, I took this role and this is the only role I'm going to perform, and don't ask me to do an additional project because, that's not within my role. Well, if you do additional projects, or you again offer, I'll be on that team to help, solve that problem, that's going to position you as wanting to learn, being curious, and committed to the company's growth.
When do you say no? Or
you say no if someone is abusive of your time. Right. And if you internally are feeling that they're just, taking advantage of you, sit down and have that discussion. Let's say you're the only team member working till 9:00 at night. You want to say, listen, I feel like, I have the bulk of the project. is there a way we can distribute it, or, what's going on? And, I want to be a part of the bigger cause, but not the one and only,
shoulder on it.
committed to it.
Yeah.
So if you do feel that, do speak up. But then again, remember your position. If you're newer and you're learning and you're growing, I feel the only way you can do that, to make a big impact for your growth is to do the actual work.
Mm-hmm.
You know how they say the UPS drivers, right?
Mm-hmm.
The UPS individuals, they start delivering because UPS wants the people to know every part of the
organization.
Business.
Yeah.
And, when you're new too, so if you're younger, you can ask 100 questions. And people are going to view that not as, oh, she doesn't know what she's doing, but, oh, she's curious.
Yeah.
So flip that. I find in the younger generation, sometimes they're afraid to ask that question, that they will come off not knowing something. Of course, there's basics that you want to be able to know. But if there's things that are new or you don't understand, or the
just
culture,
ask.
or just ask. And that's going to really, truly be seen as, wow, she's interested in this. And everyone wants to help, right? Like, we're built to want to help. So I love, helping young individuals, women, men, and their careers. And it does make me feel like I'm contributing back.
Mm-hmm.
So I think when you have a structure where, there is a senior person, a junior person, a entry-level person, there you have access to all this knowledge, and it's going to be knowledge that is more important than your college books.
Absolutely.
Right? It's a dynamic process. Mm-hmm. It's not a flat process. And I think sometimes individuals go in and think, oh, the computer's in front of me, I can learn and ask the questions, or my book's in front of me. No, ask the human that's in front of you, because you're going to get more of the nuances involved. You're going to get that person's experience. And as they say, it's not always what's written in the books. You have to be flexible and open. That's another key, is just be flexible and open.
Yeah. Absolutely. Thank you. So which, by the way, took you to being flexible and open, took you to the center of Silicon Valley.
Yes, it did.
Accelerate quickly here, because I want to make sure that we get to your current company. But a few anecdotes from your experience at Nasdaq. I know I have heard you may have talked to high-profile individuals.
Yes, I have. Again, I feel immensely blessed that, I was, able to get this job, and move out to Silicon Valley. I don't even think when it was happening, I was realizing how impactful that would be to my career and meeting new people, and I was very nervous. I didn't adapt to change as well as I wanted to. I was hesitant, but you have to jump in, embrace the new culture, embrace the new company. And it offered me so many great opportunities to meet people, not only from Elon Musk. And yes, I did sit down and have numerous conversations with Elon, probably before anyone knew who Elon was. And they knew him out in Silicon Valley, and I took Facebook public, so got to know that whole culture and dynamic. I can't say I know Mark Zuckerberg, because he did not want to be, part of the IPO process. But it was fascinating, meeting with all different levels of people, and, with PhDs and new ideas. And even if I didn't understand it, because I didn't understand technology that well, and you think you go in, but you're the expert in your field. They're the expert in their ideas and what they're doing, but they want to hear your knowledge. And even Elon Musk, he would sit down and he would say, okay, tell me how the markets work. I don't know how the markets work. If Elon Musk can say, I don't know how the markets work in the very, very beginning, and he was looking to take his company public, you want to come out with that growth mindset. And that really stayed with me, right? And many of the CEOs, founders I worked with would say, I don't know how the markets work. Tell me about this process. So they knew their what they were doing, building all sorts of new gadgets or back end technologies to make things work. But they didn't know the market. So that encouraged me, I guess, and made me stronger. I know, this side of the business, they know that side of the business.
Beautiful.
And I think, again, the entrepreneur mindset, being curious, being open, and open to learning new ideas. So it was fascinating.
Nice.
The whole, I was out in Silicon Valley for 8 years, and it was fascinating. And yes, I will say Elon Musk was probably cherry on top, right? So getting to work with him and Tesla at the time.
Yeah,
but I met him at his SpaceX office. So where he was building rockets.
That is such a cool experience to think about, to think back about. And also, I'm so impressed with how you switched from, being at the top of your career into starting your own business. And I definitely want to hear about that transition and that how it came about. But before we leave the Nasdaq, at this point, my internet completely gave up and we had to reschedule the next half of the interview. So keep listening, and thank you for listening to Unbossed. Hey everybody, and we are back. Like you have heard from my my cotton intro, we had some technical difficulties, so we had to restart today. So thank you, Pam, so much for being gracious about this and understanding technical difficulties.
No problem, my pleasure.
So where we left off, we were talking about Nasdaq and your role at Nasdaq. So obviously, you mentioned you met Elon Musk and you helped take the company public, as well as Facebook, and you were in the middle of San Francisco. And I was just wanting to understand, for the audience that doesn't know what Nasdaq does, is like, what is Nasdaq and what is the role of this company, and what was your role within that company?
Yeah, great question. So Nasdaq is a trading venue. So it's an electronic trading exchange. And I was responsible for new business, meaning I would go out and work with privately held companies that were looking to looking to IPO, which IPO is initial public offering. And it's an exciting time in a company's life. And I got to meet amazing founders and, get involved in their businesses and the process. And it was, competitive in the fact that I competed against the New York Stock Exchange, and when you go public, you have a choice to either list on New York Stock Exchange or the Nasdaq. So it really was a sales role and convincing the company that Nasdaq is the best trading venue and best overall partner for them in the long term. So it was fun and challenging and dynamic, and it kept me very, very busy.
Yeah. What are some of the technical details behind this type of choice? And not so much for people listening, but just getting a deeper understanding of, like, what are some pros and cons that you have seen, without having to pick side necessarily, but what are some of the, how would someone make some of these choices?
Yep. Great question. They really looked at, okay, how is my stock going to be traded? And on the New York Stock Exchange, there was still an outcry system, if you will. There were people on the trading floor, bidding and asking and doing that physical exchange of stocks. Whereas Nasdaq is purely electronic and obviously a little bit more efficient than, person-to-person type of trading. Now, not to say that the New York Stock Exchange did not have electronic trading as well by this time, right? So there was a slight difference in that trading model, and we felt Nasdaq is more efficient and a better partner in that way. Okay. So that's the very specific product, quote unquote, that the company is buying into.
Yeah.
But then there's other things that go into that, and that would be the overall relationship. And we offered marketing assets to them,
IPO.
so they could go and ring the bell and be on the
Nice.
tower in Times Square, and also get services. Because when you go public, you have to do quarterly filings, and you're subject to more SEC regulation. So we provided products that made that more smooth and streamlined. So really the differences were slight, if you will. A lot of companies would say, okay, how am I supposed to make this decision? It's, because both trade stock, right?
Yeah.
The stock exchange, the Nasdaq. So both do efficiently at some point, at the end of the day, the stock is traded. So what is the difference? And that begged the question, okay, what assets other than the trading asset do you have to provide us?
What is the history of the history behind IPOs briefly, and how did those come about?
It goes back, I don't want to say to the beginning of New York Stock Exchange. I think it's 100+ years old, right, at this point. And it's a vehicle, that gives access for people like you and I to trade these companies. And, we're providing capital for these companies. So the company does have a choice to stay public or to stay private or go public. But again, it's good for the company because it's an infusion of capital, if you will. So they grow. We benefit from that. There are gains and there's losses. So I don't know how far back it goes. That's a good question. But because I didn't work for the New York Stock Exchange, I probably, I know that the first first company that went public on Nasdaq was Intel back in 1971.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, and that's when Nasdaq was born in 1971.
I think just wanting to hear your opinion about how much access nowadays we have to even trade stocks, and how much even younger people and younger generation are able to do this compared to maybe some earlier time in your career. How do you think this affects potentially outcomes and what we're going to see in the future?
I think more and more people have access to the stock market through, products like mutual funds, let's say. So, where you can have a diverse portfolio of stock. When you're buying individual stocks, some of those prices are high. But again, through TD Ameritrade, Charles Schwab, other trading venues like that, you can easily make a trade and set up an account. So I encourage all people, whether it's, $100 or, $100,000, to start investing.
Nice.
In the stock market. Yeah. So I would research, definitely, not just the individual stocks, but other products that pull together a pool of stocks, if you will.
A portfolio, a diversified portfolio. Yeah.
Yes, okay. Exactly.
Great. So at this point, then you have decided to move on and fund your own company, Everly James.
Yes.
I'm super excited to talk about that. Talk to us about that transition and what was that like to make that choice?
Well, I made it in the middle of COVID, so that was always fun, right? And the world changed a year and a half ago. But I've been at Nasdaq for 15 years, and it was at a point in my career where I thought, let's transition and let's go into something else. I'd had a great long career at Nasdaq. I had a great long career at a mutual fund company, and together that was almost 40 years. and just working with all these wonderful founders and startups, I thought, why not? Let's think about what I can provide, or a company that I can form that can be, positive and helpful. And it's been fun. It's been fun but challenging. So
Yeah.
not for the faint of heart.
So, how did you decide on Everly James?
So sorry about that. My phone keeps ringing. It's a busy morning.
Yeah.
So I wanted to help younger women. And what skill sets did I have? What product could I bring forth? And in today's market, with the lifestyle companies, with the internet, with Instagram, it is easy to get a company up and running.
Yeah.
And
I'm pulling up your website here so that people that are watching on YouTube and on video can check it out.
Thank you.
Yeah.
So I was Everly James is named after my parents, and in honor of them. And it's really a simple concept that I wanted to reach out and empower women, again, in particular, to empower themselves. And one way to do that is getting in touch with yourself and grounding yourself with your five senses. Yeah. And it's something that we all have within us. So you and I at any given moment can look around and see, the beautiful trees, and listen to the birds chirping, and, smell the beautiful smells of nature. And it really does focus and bring in your being to yourself and into the present.
And where did you learn this, by the way, the skill about using your senses to ground yourself and others?
I think it was really through, COVID, and, we were all isolated to a certain effect. And, it's just like taking in your surroundings day in and day out, and looking at your walls or your couch or your kitchen and your bedroom, and saying, okay, does this motivate me? Does this, make me happy and filled with joy? And if not, there are things I can do to change that. Mm-hmm. And, picking up on your sensory capabilities, again, which we all have, it really brought me back to the present. And I thought, why can't everyone know about this? Which we all do to a certain extent, but it isn't, not that it doesn't come naturally, but we don't think of it consciously. So I really want to raise the consciousness of how do we interact with the world, and what products, because I want to bring consumerism into this, because that's really how we live every day. We need shelter, we need food, we, have activities. And while we're going throughout the day, why can't we have a house, let's say, that we were spending a lot of time in? Why can't we have a house that fills us with joy? And it's as simple as, the paint on the wall, it's white, maybe I'll splash yellow on the walls, and that will make me feel energized and happy, because there's all sorts of studies on color and how that affects your mood. Yeah. So really, it's the little things I'm trying to bring into focus. And then what I've done is curated products. So let's take, for example, smell. A diffuser and the essential oils of lavender, let's call it, and the soothing effects it has. Why shouldn't I have that on? And it's a health benefit, right? It's a natural substance. Don't go out and spray air freshener or some chemical. What are you putting into your body also? And that elevates, yourself. Because there's negatives and positives, energy is all around us, and that's what we want to get in touch with. Are we interacting in a positive environment? Are we acting in a negative environment? That includes obviously people, but it also includes your surroundings.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think you mentioned it. You said it so best. Like we go through life making these choices about these things, but we don't really pay attention to it, or we do it unconsciously.
Hmm.
And the way it resonated with me was about making these choices with purpose, or more consciously, like you said.
Yes, intent.
Um, yeah, with intent, which means that instead of picking up any candle, or picking up any smell, or picking up any fabric, I really think a little bit longer, a couple more seconds about, hey, how is this going to make me feel in my space,
Mhm.
in my life, in my everyday today as I interact with it.
Yes, absolutely. And that there are products out there that, can enhance that. And so
Mhm.
that's why I've curated a smaller list. I've, curated it by the five senses. So,
Yep.
in touch, let's say, I have soft, cozy blankets or sweatshirts and tactile type of products. And, again, if you're sitting on your couch and let's say your couch was given to you by your grandmother and it's floral and, not the right colors, but okay, I'm saving money, by using grandma's couch. But in effect, if there's negativity attached to that, right? Like whether
Mhm.
it's color, whether it's because it's old, that does not benefit you, because there is energetic, you know, um, eh, positive negatives going on,
Mhm.
and it's something, let's say you sit on every day, you should go out and buy a new couch that effectively lifts your spirits instead of bringing that down.
Mm. Nice. I
Yeah,
like that.
and you
Well,
have that ability to do that, right? um, you know
yeah. I
to
mean,
go out and buy, especially in today's environment.
yeah. Yeah,
You
I would
can.
I would say yeah, like I would say like a lot of people are taking care of themselves a lot more,
Yes.
and could be as small, I would say it could be as small as going onto your website and looking at the sense of smell, for example, and starting with something like, it doesn't have to be super big, but it could be, one of the candles that you have in your collection, and
Yes.
then upgrading through a couch, through
Yeah,
things like
to
that.
clothing, to cosmetics, to
Mhm.
skincare, to hair products, and again, these are brands that I feel align with our values
Mm.
also. So our values, and we select products based on how innovative they are.
Mhm.
What are they doing to intentionally
Mm.
bring this product forth?
Nice.
And it's inclusive, so it really, it's their values and our values. Do they align? Is it a quality product?
Mm.
And who are the founders? So it's going deeper into that product as well.
Nice.
Hmm.
I like, um I've heard, and I really like this trend about curation. Like, I
Hmm.
think the science, or the theory behind it is that, there's so much content on the internet. We get super overwhelmed with the amount of products and things that we have to go, and then all of a sudden we don't buy anything, because even though we were looking for something that was going to make us feel good, in the end there's too much, and I don't know what to pick, and I don't know how to differentiate, things like that. And so I really love what you're doing with the curation portion of it, because you basically do that homework for me in
Hmm.
some sort of way, and I can just get to your site and really buy into who you are as a company, who you are, Pam, and how you picking this, how you're picking this brands and this products.
Hmm.
Makes it easy for a consumer, I would say. Is that what you
Yeah,
also
yeah, and
found
that's what
as
yes,
well?
that's what, because there's so many choices out there.
Yeah,
And as you said, and that takes time,
yeah.
to go through the different websites and what do I really want. And also, when you're looking at it through the lens of your five senses, you really, choose more wisely.
Mm,
Because okay, does the color resonate with me? Get in touch with how that feels.
mm,
Does the sound resonate with me? Does the touch, like, is it soft? Is it not soft? And, how does that make you feel on the inside? And if it doesn't make you feel warm and fuzzy and good, then maybe you should pass on it. Even if, let's say, your best friend likes that product and it's quality, it's not that it's not quality or the mission behind the company isn't great, but there are certain things that may not resonate with you. And so that means you can pass on that. But I think if you look at it through the lens of the 5 senses, you're going to make better choices.
I love that. Thank you so much. What are the plans for the future of Everly James coming to an end here in 2021? Jumping into 2022, what do you have in store?
Yeah, great question again. It's only been a year since I founded the company, and it has whizzed by. And so, we have the foundation built. Go to our Instagram, go to our website. We have TikTok as well. So we're reaching out and building a community, and that takes time. But the next step is to build out a product through an app. So I'm going to be working with designers and engineers and seeing if we can get a product out, and that being an application that, again, you can easily access, what we bring forth, but also make it fun and interactive. So stay tuned for that. It won't be tomorrow. It takes a while to build out an app. If you can believe it, it doesn't happen
overnight.
It takes about a year. So I'll be working on that.
Nice. Well, congratulations, and I look forward to using that. If you had to give us a sense of the vision of Everly James and where, if you could have everything in the world, where would it be as a product, as a brand, or what are you trying to build? Are you trying to build an end-to-end integration from manufacturing to placement? Or are you going a different route that I cannot even imagine?
Yeah. So, my goal is to be a global company, to reach as many individuals. Maybe the primary target is younger women, but it is really individuals to empower themselves, that they really tap into their energy, and that they are, if you want to use a woohoo term, vibrating at their highest level. So really, if you look at life, the 2 emotions that we tap into all the time are love and fear. If we can be focused on the loving, portion more so than the fear, because the fear brings you down, right? And then, brings out anger and hate and all those things that we want to try to overcome. So as a society, if individually we are really, working on all cylinders, if you will, it can be a better world.
Nice. That's beautiful. Thank you so much. Okay, are you ready for your outros questions?
Sure.
Okay, so what is one thing that we don't know about you?
I am a twin, an identical twin. So I was born a twin. There's 2 of me.
What is a book you have gifted the most?
I have a book that is called Nourish, which is a book, again, about nourishing your physical body, your mental body, and it has 3 women that give their viewpoints, whether it's yoga, whether it's nutrition, whether it's how you live, in your current environment. But it's a great book that really, again, just like through my 5 senses, it's focusing in, on, okay, what do you eat? How do you take care of your body? And it's just a great little book that I enjoy and gift out to my friends.
Is that, let's see, is that the one with the vegetables in the cover, or does it have some mint leaf?
Is
it by Reshma Shah and Brenda Davis and David L? Do you remember?
No, it's by, I have it right here, Sadie Frost and Amber Rose.
Okay. Sadie Frost. Okay, there are so many Nourish books. I didn't realize. Okay. Great. Thank you so much for that.
Yeah.
Next question is, what is a book you would write?
Wow, that is a great question. What is a book I would write? I think it would be along the lines of, you have it within your power to really, go out and do good in the world and, and live and enjoy, right? We don't, not that, there's struggles in life, right? But how we approach them and overcome them. And we're all capable of living really a joyful life. And how do you do that?
Love it. That's really good. What is one thing you want the audience to remember about this conversation?
Really, that you have it within yourself to, guide your life as you see, and that everybody has a purpose, and especially, whether it's women that are entering the workforce, whatever you want to do, you can accomplish.
Beautiful. Thank you so much, Pam, for being on the
you.
podcast, for coming on twice.
Yes,
back to back. I appreciate it so much.
A lot of fun. So thank you.
Thank you so much, and best of luck with Everly. James, I look forward learning more from you about the 5 senses and how we nourish them and be in higher vibrations.
Great.
Have a great day.
Bye-bye. You too.
Woo! There you have it. I hope you liked this episode, and please don't forget to share, like, comment on the podcast link. Tell all your networks and friends and family about it. Submit a recommendation for a guest at www.unbossed.io. Subscribe on your favorite podcast app. Donate by clicking on the anchor link and help me continue to make great episodes. You can find all this information on www.unbossed.io. See you next time. Oh, that was good.